Good morning and welcome to my Christmas Day special. It's Crayonbox here, otherwise known as Stuart to my friends, and today is Christmas Day. Obviously I made this video a few days ago, but today it's 5 o'clock in the morning and we're going flying to test a few things I've just resolved, hopefully, on Sparkles. Now, Sparkles had a few issues since day one. One was, there was noise on the recordings. The noise on the phone that I was recording on was strobe noise or trim noise, and I could never work out why. And there was some other sometimes reported radio issues where the radio signal or transmission I was making wasn't clear. But it was never me, it was them, of course. So hopefully that problem's resolved. And hopefully in the end of this video, or somewhere during this video, you'll actually see what I did to fix it, if it's fixed. The other issue was my EFIS. Now there's a video up here that shows what I've attempted to do in the past to try and fix the EFIS, and there were three issues. One was it wasn't recording more than one flight in a day, and if I did 2 or more flights in a day, it would overwrite the first ones. It would only retain the last flight of the day recorded, and I use those flights to map out my GPS or my track, if you like, for the videos. And also it wouldn't, when you were trying to extract the data for those flights, it wouldn't sort them in order, and it would also record them the date one day earlier than the actual flight. So hopefully that's resolved, because what we've actually done is I've had a new EFIS sent to me, and the EFIS now has version firmware 2.03. The only one downloadable on the website is 2.01, and my previous EFIS, the old one that's now removed, had 2.02. So I don't know what's going on, but at least now it's a new firmware and hopefully it does resolve it. Let's go flying and let's go and see what happens. Alright, great start. We've just had 2 cameras play up. The first one was the Insta360 that I charged both batteries in the double battery charger last night. And that battery, one of them was flat, the other one was okay. I'm not sure if it's actually charging off the microlight aircraft either. And then the GoPro that I'm using now, the card was faulty. I've swapped it with another camera, formatted both cards. I switched the cards around. Now everything's working again. Anyway, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you a Merry Christmas. We're about to go flying finally. I've got everything set up. I had a few things to finish after I did the EFIS change and the modification for hopefully removing the noise in my audio system. Let's go and find out now. We're about to find out if my audio problem's fixed. Key on. Strobes on. Switches on, choke on. Clear prop. Okay, so all cameras are still recording. Well, I can see that it looks like it might be. Yeah. Radio on. I can hear a noise, alternator noise now, that I couldn't hear before. 1, 2, 3. I can see my audio on the phone as well, where I talk. Oh, that's good. It's weird I can hear that noise. That is a noise I am not familiar with. Engine alternator noise. Upon review, it now turns out that I had minimal success with everything I did. However, I did improve the radio transmission and the receiving clarity. First, the EFIS. Reviewing the data recorded by the new EFIS with firmware 2.03, I can still see 2 issues. When reviewing the data on my computer and using the MGL supplied Enigma Blackbox software, I noticed the following. First, the flight date is still 1 day later than the actual date that I flew. The flights are not date sorted either. An inconclusive issue as yet is the loss of earlier flights and only ending up with the last one on the day. Maybe it depends on the time of the day that I fly and the date being recorded. I'll keep a check on this and see what happens in the future. None of these issues seem to be UTC date related as far as I can tell. The times are set correctly in the EFIS as far as I can tell. As for the modification I carried out, here it is. I installed a relay to supply positive 12 volts directly from the battery to the intercom. This relay operates when the key is turned on. I did this because I was working on the theory that there was too much load on the system, too many devices obtaining positive 12 volts from the key switch. There was too much load on the system. With strobes, landing light, EFIS, RDAC or RDAC, which is the digital analog converter for the data coming from the engine, the intercom and radio all turned on, I estimate up to 12 amps would be drawn through the key switch at maximum current, and through the wiring and the many connections involved, which has to be a voltage drop nightmare. Sure enough, some noise went away. The modification got rid of 90% of the strobe noise. But now battery generator charging noises are very prominent. My next fix was to install one of these, a toroid choke. It goes in series with the supply to the intercom and is meant to block high frequency electrical noise, such as that from an alternator perhaps, and will often work better in conjunction with a capacitor connected to ground. Well, I've tried that and it didn't work either. But I have now found the solution, and here it is. The radio module is mounted directly on the chassis of the aircraft. It's getting an earth or a 0 volt return from the chassis of the aircraft. It is also connected, the radio that is, directly to the intercom 0 volt return. There's a ground loop. By removing the radio from the chassis of the aircraft, the noise goes away completely. My solution at the moment is to leave actually the radio module directly connected to the chassis, but cut the ground wire, the 0 volt return wire going to the intercom. We'll have to see how this goes. Check back in a moment. As you can see, making these videos is rather challenging and frustrating at times. The more technology used seems to exponentially increase the fail rate. On this flight I got very little audio because my recording app was stopping after 3 minutes, and the second app I tried in the flight didn't record the external input, only the internal microphone audio, that is, wind and engine noises. Mind you, I did switch to that app while I was flying without testing it, but I thought it should have worked. It didn't. The Insta360 ran for 5 minutes. For some reason the batteries didn't charge properly the night before, and the aircraft power supply to charge the Insta360 while using it didn't work correctly either. That turned out to be the USB cable I was using wasn't compatible or able to offer the current required for the camera to charge. Solution fixed. Fortunately, we got helmet, bar and strut camera video. The helmet cam, a Sony FDX3000, is something I have seen in other videos online, and the first time I am trying it out. The GoPro Hero 7 strut camera also records the GPS gauge data you will often see on screen from time to time. And the DJI Osmo Action on the bar, which is a recent addition to my collection of cameras, used to film me talking as well as to film in front if I want to turn the camera during flight, whichever direction is relevant at the time I'm talking about. Powered on for a commendable and reliable 1.5 hours.
Okay,
we're going to start the trike now and test that we still have the fault before I cut the wire inside the DV25, the ground wire, which should remove the earth loop from the intercom system and radio system. Let's do that now, starting the aircraft. Choke, switches, clear prop. Okay. Alternator noise is quite obvious, so the fault is definitely there right now. Strobes on. The radio is currently off as well, so we'll turn the landing light on just for fun. Oh, you hear the alternator go harder. The lighting charging circuit it is. Righty, strobes off and switches off. Okay, now we're going to cut the wire. One, two, three. So it's still working. Is it still recording on the phone? I've just cut the wire. It was actually a screen, which if it's earthed at both ends would explain everything. So that's working. What about the radio? The radio's not working. The key's not on. Key on. EFIS is starting. Strobes on. Radio on. Thank goodness it works. So the radio still works. Let's see if we can just let's listen to the weather. 1, 2, 3.
Clear below 2,000 feet. Visibility 10 kilometers. Viewpoint 19er. Humidity 52%. Rainfall last 10 minutes. Variable. AWS aerodrome weather. Wind 0 to 0 degrees.
Well, the weather's working, so let's start it up and see. Turn the radio off. Strobes on. Clear prop. Alright, I don't hear alternator noise. And now we'll turn the radio on. Is that clear for you boys and girls? Strobes are on. Okay, landing light on. Landing light off. Let's do the pitch on the trim because that normally played up. Nothing. What about landing light? Nothing. And radio on. Okay. Let's go back to weather.
Variable between 030 and 350 degrees magnetic, 8 knots. QNH 1008 hectopascals. Temperature 29. Cloud clear below 2,000 feet. Visibility 10.
That's fixed. All I had to do was cut the screen. They earthed it at both ends, obviously. Big no-no. So it's actually earthed now through the chassis. If the radio comes off the chassis, it won't work. Or the other option is to obviously to insulate the chassis, the radio chassis from the aircraft chassis rail. But that wouldn't be as strong a earth, I wouldn't think, especially when the radio is right next to the. And there's a plane coming in, and did you hear that? It was as clear as a bell.
Mirror traffic problems, Lindsay Charlie, turning 434 Mirror.
Piper Lance inbound Maryborough. Could you just give me a quick radio check, please?
Yeah, mate, read your forward.
That's good to know. I'm just sitting on the ground at the hangars. See you soon. So the radio check proves to be good with him. Strength all 5. Happy, happy, happy days. You can just see a spike from the landing light. There. 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 Now I cannot hear any pitch. Alright, engine off. Excellent. I'm going to put it all back together and we'll go for a fly. So that concludes this video. In the next video, we'll be looking at landings. My landings from when I started to fly my first solo up until very recently. Some good, some not so good. Stay tuned for that. I'm trying to get that online for you for Christmas Day, and we'll have to see what comes after that. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll catch you Christmas Day. See you later. Bye for now.
Bearer traffic, truck 6340, enters, lines up, rolls runway 12, bearer traffic.